Now we have an act I think a lot of people have been waiting for. When our next performer was little, he used to tell people that he wanted to be a comedian when he grew up. And they just laughed at him. Well, no one's laughing now. Please welcome to the stage for his stand-up comedy debut, our very own Pastor Young.
All right, hi, good evening. It's good to be here. I'm nervous, though. Wow. I'm a pastor. I'm used to public speaking. Usually I have a pulpit in front of me that I can, hide behind in case people start throwing things. As luck would have it, here I am doing my stand-up debut, and they've actually supplied me with ammunition. Start pelting me with pasta and sauce. Get off the stage, you're horrible! Thanks. Thanks, Josh, I appreciate it. Feel better already. I'm just glad I think most people are done eating. I didn't get dessert. If anybody wants to throw me a dessert, though, that might be good.
Chocolate, right?
Yeah, chocolate would be good. Boy, I'm nervous, though. I should have rehearsed more. I didn't really have the opportunity. It's not like my Sunday morning sermon. I get to practice that at the Saturday evening service. Work out the kinks. I'm not sure if the Saturday evening people know that they're my test audience. If I start my sermon with an amusing anecdote, they don't seem amused, then I'm like, well, I gotta find something better for tomorrow morning. That hardly ever happens, though, because I'm hilarious most of the time. Sometimes I'll try out a couple of things, and whichever one gets a bigger laugh, that's one I use on Sunday morning. It's tough, it's tough writing sermons. A lot of work goes into it. Speaking of which, I was so busy working on this, for the past week that I didn't have a lot of time to put into Sunday's sermon, so it's going to be shorter than usual this weekend. Thanks a lot. Everyone really appreciate the support. I'm just kidding. You guys are great. You guys have been really supportive. When I announced at all the services this past weekend that I would be doing this tonight, then actually I got a text during the late service from someone who had been at the early service and heard that I would be doing this. And there's actually a couple of texts that came in. The first one said, "Why did the Lutheran cross the road?" And then the second text said, "To sit farther away from the front of the church." Yeah, that's pretty good. Hey, that's going in the act. That's very good. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks also for waiting until you got home before you sent it. No texting in church, people, okay?
Yeah, right.
No texting in church. Now, I realize that it probably sounded like I had read those texts during the late service, but believe me, I would never, ever admit to doing that. But I think a lot of pastors are wannabe stand-up comics. I know this too. I had a seminary professor who complained about it during one of our chapel services that we would have while at the seminary. He said during his sermon, he said very dryly, "Why do so many preachers insist on trying to entertain their congregations with jokes from the pulpit?" Boy, I'll tell you, I think he was just jealous because he was so boring. His name was Reverend Dr. Quentin Wesselschmidt. How's that for a name? Right, that's a name. That name, it's too long. That's why he was boring. His name was so long, right? He'd start off the class saying, "Good morning, class. My name is Reverend Dr. Quentin Wesselschmidt." We don't have time for your entire German Lutheran name, okay? It's too long. Out of curiosity, though, I Googled his name to find out whatever happened to him. and found his obituary online. At least I think it was him, unless I got the wrong Quentin Wesselschmidt. Right? Oh, you mean Quentin F. Wesselschmidt? Yeah, that's the guy. I found his obituary online. I was surprised to hear that he had died in 2010 at the age of 81. It was really surprising because I had him as a professor more than 20 years ago, and I was sure that he was well past 100 at that time. I mean, he was a professor of ancient church history because he had lived through most of it. I kid, but he had a reputation for being a very tough grader in addition to being old. In fact, the story was that even the Apostle Paul could only manage to get a B+ from Wesselschmidt. Seminary was great, though. It was challenging, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, tons of papers to write. There's a saying in academia that if you take from another person's work and pass it off as your own, that's plagiarism. But if you take from a bunch of people's other work and cite it with footnotes, that's scholarship. So I figured I'd do a little comedy scholarship tonight. I don't want to plagiarize anybody, so I'm going to come out and tell you that this next bit is from a comedian named Kellen Erskine. And, maybe to support him, you could go home and do a YouTube search for him. His stuff is on YouTube. And then maybe he'll get some advertising revenue out of this deal, so that's good, right? Of course, you have to know how to spell Kellen Erskine. That's not exactly easy. It's not Quentin Wesselschmidt, but still. This is what Kellen Erskine says. My favorite animal is a penguin. Just feel bad for them. Penguins are one of the reasons I'm not entirely convinced that evolution is true. Because evolution says that an animal will either die off completely or else adapt comfortably to their environment. And I just don't think they belong in Antarctica. They seem cold. Like if you go to the LA Zoo, they don't keep them in a freezer. They're outside on cement and they're fine. Every other animal in Antarctica, in the South Pole, has 15 inches of blubber or fur to keep it warm. You ever see penguins walk? They walk the same way you would if you were wearing cold, wet pants. And this is completely true. Every year in Antarctica, penguins will walk 80 miles round trip for food, if Morgan Freeman is to be believed. And this is where evolution gets shady. If these poor animals have been walking 80 miles round trip for every year for the past 10 million years, why don't they have knees yet? Their wings haven't worked out for some reason. Can they at least get some bendy legs? You ever see them do this thing where they slide on their bellies into the ocean? They never mean to do that. They just trip and they're like, well, I can't get up. I guess I'll learn to swim too. I'm a bird. Kellen Erskine, everybody! I thought that was pretty good. And then I'm going to cite one more. This is a comedian named Brian Regan. I found him on YouTube a few years ago, and he's been a favorite of mine. My daughters who like to watch him. And he actually just signed a deal with the help of Jerry Seinfeld. They got him a show on Netflix. So if you're looking for him, it's Brian Regan. I'm wearing new glasses now. Finally, after 6 years, I went to the eye doctor, got a new prescription. You ever wait that long? 6 years? And you get these new lenses and you're like, whoa! I could have been seeing this whole time. How is instantly improved eyesight not at the top of everyone's to-do list? I'll see tomorrow. I don't have time to see today, and see things clearly. Busy. Got too many things. See my desk. So I go to the eye doctor. They slide this giant thing in front of me, and I'm like, are these my glasses? That'd be a good pair of glasses, all right? Do I like better like this or like this? Like this, or I'm going to go back to this? How about this? I hate that test though, because I can't commit. I can feel my eye doctor losing his patience with me. He's like, okay, we're going to try this again. You like number 1 better or number 2? I don't like either one of them. Yes, but that's not the question I asked you, was it? I asked you which one you liked better. I was careful to phrase it that way. So why don't you keep that in mind as we try this yet again? You like number 1 better or number 2? They're about the same.
That's what I say. Oh, me too.
You really think I would waste your time and mine by making them the same? We're going to do this one more time. Which one do you like better, number 1 or number 2? What do you want from me? And then they got this other test. I don't even know what they're testing. And this one gives me an anxiety attack whenever I have to do it. You got to stare in this thing and they say, tell us the exact moment that point A is above point B. Okay. Now! No, now! No, then! Oh! I'm afraid if I'm off by an eighth of a second, I'm going to get these Hubble telescope glasses with like a coming attraction thing. I'll be walking around, people say, you messed up the A/B test, didn't you? Oh boy. I got one more treat for you. Because quite frankly, I wasn't sure how I was going to get off the stage. But turns out I am a bit of a celebrity already among a certain demographic. Do we have any Little Lambs preschoolers here? Little Lambs? And some graduates back here. We got some alumni. We got a whole slew of our Little Lambs. So I wanted to end with a song, and is this going to work? Can I do this? Oh, there's my cue. All right. All right, so I like to play the guitar for chapel, and who was just telling me? One of the parents was just telling me, should have thought this through. Because they said, because it was a relative, that's right, it was a relative of one of the preschoolers, and she was telling me how it's her friend's nephew. All right, and so that was the connection to get to Our Savior in the first place. And so she was telling me that her friend's nephew just thinks it's so cool that she knows me. Wow, you know Pastor Young? So this next song is an original composition. I just wrote this because we did the story of David and Goliath, and I didn't think there were any good David and Goliath songs, so I wrote my own. David was little, Goliath was big. David was little, Goliath was big. David was little, Goliath was big, but David trusted in the Lord. The king gave him armor too heavy to wear. The king gave him armor too heavy to wear. The king gave him armor too heavy to wear, but David trusted in the Lord. David took a stone and put it in his sling. David took a stone and put it in his sling. David took a stone and put it in his sling, and David trusted in the Lord. The stone hit Goliath and he fell to the ground. The stone hit Goliath and he fell to the ground. The stone hit Goliath and he fell to the ground, 'cause David trusted in the Lord. And this song, there was going to be an additional verse where David took his sword and cut off his head, but I didn't think that was really appropriate for the preschoolers, so we we nixed that verse. So just one more. This is a song. This is a crowd favorite. This is not the one. This is one of my favorite stories too. When I was doing chapel, and I give a CD of the chapel songs to all the families so that they can hear the songs at home. This also helps them with what their kids are singing, because the kids will go home and they'll sing the songs, but they don't always do it intelligibly. And the parents say there's something about there's a blind man by a road and what's he doing? And so I give the lyrics and they can hear it. The CD is only about 35 minutes long though, because these songs are all really short. And so I did have one family complain about it because it was all their child wanted to listen to on the way to Buffalo. And that's a very long trip. I did have one family, the little boy told me that they had lost the CD, and I said, oh, that's okay. I'll burn another one for you, that's okay. And his parents told me, no, Pastor, we didn't lose it, we lost it. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. And that was the same little boy, though, then when we were in chapel, and I said, you guys have any favorite songs? Like, would you like to choose a favorite song? And one little boy said, this is the same little boy, he says, Track 10. Awesome. I don't know which one that is. And he couldn't come up with the name of it or anything. He just said, it's Track 10. And so I finally defined it. This is not Track 10, but this is another crowd favorite. So we'll close with this one. If you know it, please feel free to sing along. This is one that I learned at church camp back in Texas, like more than about 20 years ago. So this is a lot of fun. This is He Hung Upon a Cross. So if you know it, sing it with me, please. He hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross for you and me. One day when I was lost, he hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross for me. He bowed his head and died. He bowed his head and died. He bowed his head and died. He bowed his head and died for you and me. One day when I was lost, he hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross for me. But he did not stay dead. He rose. He rose on Easter morn. He rose on Easter morn. He rose on Easter morn for you and me. One day when I was lost, he hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross for me. And he's coming back one day. He's coming back one day. He's coming back one day. He's coming back one day for you and me. One day I was lost. He hung upon the cross. He hung upon the cross for me. One more time. One day when I was lost, he hung upon a cross. He hung upon a cross for me.
Little Lamb song just gets you so amped. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that one in like 13 years.